This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to the February 29th, Selectmen's Meeting. Time being 4:45. I'd like to call this meeting of the Selectmen's Meeting to order. We'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are waiting for Lauren to arrive, so why don't we go over the minutes of 2:15?
Madam Chair, can I go downstairs and make sure she's not? Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Go ahead. On page 3 of 7, on the bottom, the second paragraph, when we're asking to, when the town administrator is asking the board to approve an advertisement to be placed on the DPW position, and then the board asks for lines to be taken out, I think they should be spelled out which lines to be taken out. I don't know if anybody agrees with that or not. It just says lines to be taken out. It leaves 1, 2, 3 years from now wondering what those lines are going to be.
That's a good point.
I don't know how often that would come up, but maybe.
This is our history right here. That
I understand
you know.
that. I know what it is.
What do you think, board? Leave it as is or change it?
Doesn't hurt to add the line that was eliminated.
As is.
More information.
More information, Scott?
Yeah.
Yep. John?
I just feel that we approved the ad as amended, and what we did in the process of amending it, and setting up, I didn't think it was enough to hold up the minutes was important, but
So leave it as is?
yeah.
Okay. So consensus says more information. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
I think it would be on page 2 of 7, but I distinctly remember asking a question about the statement that was made from the Preservation Company letter that we received about the town. I'm reading it now. The town has since chosen to replace the bridge. And I had asked a question where they got that idea from.
but that is not noted in the minutes.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel that's important.
Yep, I do as well.
Yep. So that should be added in this discussion on 2 of 7.
Page 6, it's just grammatical. Third, second, Selectman Dawson down. Selectman Dawson asked if the board wanted them to plant the trough and the monument. This says in the monument, so just to indicate that it's 2 different areas. The and should be put in.
That it's and. And I think that on page 6 of 7, where it begins Jane Alden, the last paragraph, probably midway, where it begins the sentence, Lakes Region Planning is involved, and they have a writer survey. It should be rider, R-I-D-E-R. Being transportation. Okay, we'll send these back to for work. And I shall make a motion to accept the minutes of February 22nd as written.
Ruggles second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All set. All right, let's bring some chairs up. Do we have some mics that we can? All right, we have an assessment review with the town assessor, Lauren Martin, and representatives from the Department of Revenue Administration. Yep, should be 3 of them, 3 seats.
Oh. You want me to go in the middle? Yeah, I'll go in the middle. I'm easy. Relatively. All right. I was pass this stuff around if you guys want to grab one and then pass it around to the board. This is just, I had sent some over to, you want to send it that way? It's fine. Do we need to put this? Are we on?
Red is on.
Okay. So what I'm handing out is just some frequently asked questions about the whole process and some bullets about that. I had sent it over to Paul today, just as part of the public relations part of the job, obviously, is getting taxpayers educated on the whole process. Most of you know, I think all of you have been through an update or two, with the exception of Scott. I think this is probably your first time. I think this is my 4th update in Tilton, which seems a little crazy. I was doing the math the other day. It's my 18th year here, which I don't even know how that's possible. I'm only 20 years old, so. But yeah, so at least I wanted to get that information out. I told Paul maybe Anywhere that taxpayers congregate, we should post it here, put it up on the website, try to get as much information out as possible. I brought with me kind of where we're starting with this update, our ratio study. I had sent that over, and I'm sure you all had seen that earlier, what we were looking at preliminarily. For 2023, our median ratio was 56.6% of market value. I haven't really seen it slow down a lot. So what that means is values are going up a lot if it continues. It could change. It could change, interest rates change. That could change the values. But based on where we've been and the fact that the new sales are still coming in significantly more than the assessments, it would look like we would be looking at a pretty sizable increase in value. So we want to get as much information out to taxpayers as possible, because values up does not mean tax bills up. And that's the most common misconception, is we're raising their value, we're going to raise their taxes. And that doesn't necessarily hold true. That said, there will be some classes of property that will see taxes go up. So we want to make sure we get as much information about the process out there as early as we can, so taxpayers can prepare. I know earlier on we had talked a little bit, and I've got too many things in my head that I'm thinking of. We had talked about the elderly exemption. Is that on your warrant this year to change limits for elderly?
That just came in. We had gotten a couple of emails, and I was going to address the board tonight, Lauren, but go ahead and offer your opinion, please, because we haven't done it since
It's been a long time.
over 10 years, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were different ways. I know we had given some information on that too. Ultimately, the board has that decision to put forward if that's what you want to do. But the value of that dollar that's on there now is not the same. So if you had, for example, a $30,000 manufactured home that was paying no taxes because it got the exemption, and that whole value is being exempted. And now more affordable housing options like manufactured housing has been going up tremendously. Said person in a 30,000 manufactured home may now be worth 100,000 or 200,000, based on what some of the properties are selling for now. So the value of those exemptions would now not have no tax bill. They're going to end up with a tax bill that they didn't have, and that bill will come out in December. That'll be their final bill of the year.
Well, what I'm understanding, though, is they're missing the mark because of the raise in Social Security. They're missing it by about $100.
Some people.
So the regular people that have been getting elderly exemption for the past, 5, 6, 7 years are now missing it by that very, 100 or under $100.
There's always going to be a line in the sand. So yeah, Social Security during COVID saw increases over 8%, which is almost unheard of for Social Security. So people that were already close to that limit now could be over that limit, and we're going through that requalification process for this year. So that, that is whether you want to raise the limit, raise the income asset. It's a lot of considerations there, because you raise the income assets, you're going to help the people that are currently on it, but you're also going to open the door for additional people to join the rolls of that. And that's something that we can't anticipate what that would be. We don't know how many.
Can you do one without the other, or you have to do one with the other?
No, you can do whatever you choose to do. We had a lot of towns leave their income and assets the way they were, so that the same people were qualifying. But they raised how much they were getting. That's a little bit more known, because you're just going to be taking care of the people that are currently on that. When you raise the income and assets, it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just you don't know how many new people could come onto the program. So you don't know what that balance will be.
Right. Got it.
lots of food for thought on that one, that's for sure. But,
Yeah.
in consideration with the update and where the values have been going over the past 5 years, it makes good sense to do that. We have some towns that have updated in the past few years with the values going up so much, and we have some that decided not to. The ones that have decided not to, what we've found is subsequently the year after they end up doing it, because the elderly population that was hit by the increases come in and
Can't
come
afford
see
it.
all of you because they can't afford it, right?
Mm.
And then it's reactionary, and there's corrections the subsequent year. So
Mhm.
it's probably better to be proactive with it than
Right.
after the fact. But
If
lot of-
they're seeing it now before the reval, they're gonna definitely see it after.
absolutely.
Right.
And it's everything. I mean, go to Market Basket to pick up your bread and milk and walk out $89 later for bread and milk. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything. It's fuel costs. It's everything. So this would obviously just be another. And because we want to get as much information out there as possible, as early as possible, because people that can maybe plan a little bit better throughout the year. Otherwise, it's a surprise in December. Well, late fall when they get that bill due December. And that's a little bit more difficult at that time to react to that increase,
Mhm.
So we are hearing from people in towns, particularly in the update towns from 23, that didn't do anything, where those more affordable housing options tend to be our lower income families that were already getting, elderly exemptions or disabled exemptions. And if those limits didn't go up with the rise in value, it's been hard felt. So food for thought there, but while my brain was going down that road for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, that's where we were, and looking at our COD and PRD over the last couple of years, because our model was working very well for I don't know how many years the model's been great, our COD and PRD, but manufactured housing, vacant land, even waterfront, like certain classes of property are going up at a different level than everything else in town, really. Some commercial has increased, but not to the level as residential. It's kind of a mixed bag, so there will be some resetting of those models this time to bring things back in line. There was a time when everything was kind of going up or down similarly, and that hasn't been the case recently. So it's going to be a little bit fun doing the analysis this time, but it's all good. We've been tracking those sales for a while. So I wanted to go over our process with it. In doing so, I probably answer a lot of DRA's questions. I save them from other talking points. But and as most of you know, because you've been through a few of these over the years with us, you kind of know what's going on with that. The first part of the whole process is we're going to start analyzing all those sales. We'll have staff out measuring and listing all the sales properties that are required for our contract that we measure and list those sales. I'm thinking that the law allows us to go back 2 years with sales. I was looking at sales today. It looks like and we don't want to go back too far because then you have to trend those sales forward, but it looks like we have enough sales going on here in town, good qualified sales, that we can rely on just the sales in 23 and the beginning of 24. So we won't have to go back too far, which is good. I'm the supervisor on the job. The first process will start with that sales review, and then we'll start analyzing those sales. I'll have that information ready to get to DRA probably sometime in late May, early June, because we're going to start here early because we do have enough sales. So when I prioritize the jobs, all the towns that have lots of sales get done first and get turned over first. And then some of those small towns that have limited data, they get kind of pushed out later in the year. So we're lucky here in that sense. So we're going to get the information out early and just keep trying to get as much information out there as possible. So we'll do that sales analysis, and then we'll be out doing field review. after we get all the base values updated, we'll be out there doing field review. This is when everyone calls. They see Lauren driving up their driveway to look at their house and
Suspicious.
yeah, exactly. What's she
She's
doing
so
out here?
suspicious.
And that's like one of the comments I think on the frequently asked questions. They always go, they're doing a drive-by assessment. They're doing a windshield appraisal. I'm like, it's just the last step in there. We do that field review to make sure everything on the card is accurately listed. When we're looking at the sales and we're comparing them to the non-sales, we want to make sure we're applying everything consistently. So it takes that final field review. There'll be 2 of us in the car driving the whole town again. And so it is burdensome, but they do see my car. The nice thing, it got easier, and I think they're getting used to me and my car driving up their driveway every 5 years. Because they don't come out and yell at me anymore. They look at the sign on the car and they just do their wave. So it is, I think, getting easier in that regard. They just ignore me. They don't care anymore. But I don't get yelled at least anymore during the process.
Just a question on that. You let the chief or the police department know you're in town and
The
doing
police always know when we're in town. Absolutely.
because they'll get the calls.
They will get the calls, staff will get the calls, so everyone will know when we're here, that's for sure. Sometimes, even though the police get the call, they still will drive out to verify that it is us and everything's okay.
It's still reported on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, social media really helps with all that.
Let them know when we go out as well.
Yeah, because they end up following behind doing the monitoring process. So if they were already mad at us, they're really mad when DRA gets there. So yeah, we'll be out doing that process. We'll get preliminary notices of value out in June, and we'll be holding hearings right now, as long as everything stays according to schedule, at the end of June. So you'll be one of our first towns completed, and the goal would be to have everything turned back over to the town in August so that we don't need to file an extension on the MS1. That's my goal. I think our contract date says October 1st, but I'm shooting to be back here before September 1st. So at that point, we'll bring the whole job back. You get a completed use PAP report. If you want the full set of property record cards, we've been giving towns options because now the archiving in the database, a lot of people don't want to file all those property record cards. So some towns said, don't bring them. We can print a card if we need it. Every year we archive your data on the system, so you can print older cards now. So that's up to you. But if you want them, that will come back with the use PAP report, which we also give you in PDF so that you can put up on the website. Last year, one of the other things we did that was new to the process, we're trying to, again, just be super proactive and transparent so taxpayers have as much information. A lot of times we'd send them a letter of new value, and they don't know if that's market value. They don't know what to compare to, and it was hard. So we put kind of all the meat of that use PAP report out on the website so that they can review that as well. The sales analysis will be there. The basic how we got from A to Z will be there. They can go online and do a comparable sales search. They can look at anybody's assessment that they want to look at. It's just I've found that's been helpful in the process. The other thing that we did that was new, we used to just say don't take your new assessment and multiply it by the old rate to avoid a heart attack. But that wasn't really enough. We found they really would rather know what the percent increase was. So we give them an estimated percent increase based on preliminary numbers. They're not the final numbers, but we say on average, the town value is up 100% or 80%, or it's been a lot lately. So then people can compare what their percent increase was to the total town increase. And that's alleviated a lot of some of the unnecessary concern where people were just having heart failure, not knowing what the percent increase was. Can't tell them what the tax rate's going to be yet, but it gives them, hey, if everyone's up 100% and I'm up 100%, we're all kind of playing in the same ball game anyway. All right, what did I miss there? So we'll do the hearings. We've been since COVID doing hearings on the phone, which has worked out well, and I'll probably continue to do that unless somebody wants to meet with me here, and I'm happy to meet with them here. It's not like it's out of the way for me or anything. The phone hearings do help with people just not having to take time off from work, travel to town to have a meeting to say, hey, over the winter, our pool was demolished or the shed came down with the ice or something silly. And some of the seasonal property owners who aren't necessarily here, it was always difficult for them to come up 3 hours to sit for a meeting. So it's been helpful in that regard. So we'll probably stay with the phone hearings unless someone says, I really want to meet with you in person, and then I'll schedule them to meet with me. I'm here still regularly throughout the process, so we'll just pick a couple of days and do that if they want to do that. We'll have staff still available to set up time to go out and do any inspections for anybody who wants to have their property inspected. We always want to make sure that people that want to let us in to make sure the data is accurate, that we go out and do that process for them. So we'll do that as we always have. And then once we finalize all that information from informal hearings, we send out final notices of value to everybody. And in that, it gives them instructions. If they're still aggrieved with that final value, they have to wait to get their bill. They have the right to file for abatement. Gives them their appeal rights in there. And for you guys, just to let you know, there's no, I was kind of looking at your thing on special use properties. We have no real special use properties in Tilton, and Avatar will be valuing utilities. And we're doing a full field review, not a desk review. I think I said that, but just in case. I mean, you guys know my normal spiel, and like I said, most of you guys do as well because you've been through this a few times with the exception of Scott. So it's first time through. But a lot of information in a quick, compact format for you. But like I said, most of you have been through it with us.
We have a couple big commercial developments that are, I don't know when they'll actually be complete. How does that work if they're not 100%? When does it get assessed?
Everything is assessed as of April 1st, so whatever exists at the time. I know we've got the dialysis center is new. I don't know if that's done yet or.
It's done. They can't staff it right now.
And then the preserve and the U-Haul.
Yep. So whatever's there on April 1st, we go out and Dan's got all that work. He'll be out there looking at all that shortly. I brought him big stacks of that. I was just here last week, so I printed all that off.
So does that get reassessed after there's an occupancy permit issued, or do they have to wait another 3 years?
No. Everything is assessed as of April 1st on new construction. So we go out, we look at it, it'll get done and entered for what exists there for April 1st. It's in on that first issue tax bill. And then we go out every year until it's done to visit it. Some properties,
You might get a little break for
a little bit. Yep. Yeah, I always tell them, build your house on April 2nd. You'll be all set. You get a free year.
That's what I was doing.
What's the big property going down on the water?
Preserve.
That's the one Dan has been trying to pawn Tilton off on someone else.
What's a resort? But it's called the Preserve.
Yeah, it's the old
Used to be
Anchorage.
the Anchorage.
Yeah, Dan's been trying at our last staff meeting. He's like, so I got this great town I work in. Is anyone interested in taking over Tilton? I go, you're not getting out of doing that property. But we looked at it while we were out on the water because we took updated waterfront pictures in the fall. The difficulty is it's ginormous and it was all fenced in. I don't know if I assume it's still all fenced in. So trying to get around that property is going to be interesting. So yeah, no one has jumped up saying I'll take that property.
Rent a golf cart.
Yeah, I mean, he's had work. He had to do the same with Planet Honda when that went up too, because during construction it's all fenced off and hard hat and I mean it's a construction zone. Yeah. Oh yeah. So hopefully he'll be able to at least get in there and get around the property, but he may be cursing a little bit as he's doing it.
Where you boots?
It's sizable. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we were,
That's 37 acres?
Mm-hmm.
37 and a half approximately.
Yeah.
Because
Have
it goes
fun.
all the way, it goes all the way
Kind
down
of
to
an
the,
odd
it goes
shape,
all
it
the way
goes all
down
the
to
way
the
down.
point and then wraps up and around on their property.
Wow, I didn't realize it was so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
And
and
it's just like hotels or?
It's a hotel, it's going to be
Gonna
a
be a
hotel.
they
like
get like
resort.
Yeah.
event,
Resort
yeah,
hotel.
event.
Wedding,
It's gonna be a
wedding
resort.
venue, restaurant, so.
No casino,
Not yet.
spa and.
It was a
you know,
cabin colony.
I know a guy that the developer overpaid for his house so that he would leave so he could tear down his house. Because
Crazy.
his house was in the way.
Was it the yellow house right on the side? Yeah.
Is that used as a comp?
Yes. Well, he was happy when the developer bought it from him.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure.
So
So,
as far as the state's concerned, we come in after the fact, after they do the reval. Actually, the initial thing is that the department looks at the contract and gives. But after the reval is done, we get our information from Warren. Send out postcards to do a random sample of the properties that were visited. Bill will be out there knocking on doors and measuring and that. Another thing that we do monitor as well is the use PAP report. Sends it to us. We make sure that it's compliant. Any revisions we send to her, and then finally it goes to you guys.
it's interesting you say that though, and it just brought to light something else for me, which I didn't realize. A lot of other contractors don't turn over the use PAP report to the town until the department has deemed it compliant. We turn it over when we turn over the job to you. So if the DRA has questions or concerns, thinks something may need to be added to it, we would revise your copy that we've provided you and add to it if we need to. But we give it to you immediately because we want to make sure taxpayers have access to the information when their bills go out. That's
It makes sense.
that's the crucial
Yeah.
part of it. So,
And a lot of the times they're not missing anything really heavy in it. It might be just definitions or things.
one year I forgot to put my sales codes in.
Yeah, the
in
unqualified
yeah,
sales codes.
yeah. I don't know why, but I just missed that. So,
And we will, like, we send out those postcards so the people know that we're coming. So. What else? Assessment review. File review, we check veterans credits, elderly exemptions, current use, field work, permits, the accuracy of the data.
and anything the department needs, I'll coordinate to get them everything they need for that process. I got the information. I'm terrible at names, but I got that downstairs.
Amy.
Thank you. And so she sent out the letters to requalify the elderly and the disabled. And then I've already been through all the files for the veterans, and we have really good current use records here. Just wonderful.
You do the files and.
All of it, yep. Yep. So, yeah, when you're ready to do that, let me know, and we can maybe coordinate on one of the days when it'll be a
Next
while.
year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They're a little behind on that
It'll
process.
be
So
after
they
the
wait.
holidays.
They wait until we've turned the whole job over to you. They're going to check those credits, exemptions, current use. They're going to check that use PAP report. But they also have to report on the statistics of the update. So did we, is the median ratio, our goal is 100%, but they're looking at that confidence interval of that. They're looking at our COD, the PRD to see where those statistics are that they are relevant. So they wait until that information is finalized as well, so that they can report on that back to you, those that we met the standard, so to speak. Interesting stuff. For me, I could talk
For
about
you,
it all
yeah.
night, but you guys look like eyes roll back in the head. But do you guys have questions about it?
Could you talk a little bit about what's going on with the nonprofits? I understand that some nonprofits that were tax exempt for years are no longer tax exempt. Now do they have to file every year? for that exemption?
It's not nonprofits, but every charitable, religious, educational organization would have to file annually an A9 and an A12. But I don't, what nonprofits qualified and now don't qualify? I only think of one, but
Well, what I was
I-
reading,
I know one. Yeah.
what I was reading with Masons in particular,
Yeah.
and because I understand they have a House bill
Mhm.
that they're going to be looking
yeah,
at
I mean, the
to make
Masons,
their property exempt from taxation, period.
there is a bill pending right now at the legislature trying to add that to the exemption, because
Right.
right now the Masons do not qualify. They're a fraternal organization. They do not qualify for charitable. And while they do tremendous acts of charity in many communities that they're in, fraternal organizations right now under the law do not qualify for exempt status.
And that's new.
Nope.
But so for years, they were exempt.
They do not qualify for exemption.
Okay, but
Correct.
so I'm trying to understand.
We might have exempted them, but
Well,
they
that's what I'm
weren't,
trying to
right?
understand. I mean, so they filed, because we're not that they were exempt. And then all of a sudden, well, I'm not saying, I guess not all of a sudden, I guess what I was reading is like a year or so ago, they were no longer exempt. Somebody decided they were no longer exempt. Was that DRA? Because I think
No, I mean,
IRS,
DRA didn't decide that. I mean, that's
IRS,
the
I think,
statute.
still looks at them as exempt.
The BTLA. I believe.
Yeah. Board of Tax and Land Appeals has had,
Was there a case?
on the Masons particularly, there's been several. I know that Alton, I believe it was, got called into the Board of Tax and Land Appeals about granting exempt status to the Masonic Lodge.
I think it was Ossipee I was reading.
I don't think it was the Masons in Ossipee, although they had plenty of issues in Ossipee, yeah.
It may have been an Ossipee.
I don't think he had, oh, you know what? I think you're right. I think
Maybe
the
it was.
assessor recommended that they don't qualify, but the board gave it to them anyway.
That's
And they got in trouble a little bit.
So did they abate them? Did they can abate for just cause?
No, I mean, yeah, you can't, if somebody doesn't qualify for an exemption by state law, the board, while they can grant something for good cause, granting,
They didn't
I
have
mean,
the
you can't,
authority.
exactly, you can't give them an abatement for good cause because they don't qualify for the exemption. That wouldn't meet the definition of good cause.
It was interesting reading, but it was confusing
Yes.
because, like I said, for years, and then, so I figured, okay, so there was a case B.
Yeah, several. And and I know DRA is looking at it pretty closely, given what has happened in some of those communities like Ossipee. The BTLA is definitely looking at it very closely. And just because someone's a 501c nonprofit organization does not mean they are automatically exempt from property
No, they have to
taxes.
file, right?
No, it's more than just filing. There's many organizations that are exempt under 501c nonprofit that do not qualify for a property tax exemption. It's more.
It's just interesting to Mason. Trust me, I'm not a Mason.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, they are a very charitable organization. They
gave
do
over-
a lot of acts of charity, but they are not formed as a charitable organization.
Over
So
2 million last year they gave. That's what I read.
yes, they do a lot. So
Interesting.
no one would begrudge them that at all, but they're a fraternal organization. So that's why they're not, you have to be formed and obligated by your charter to perform acts of charity. They're not obligated to do it. They do it, but they're not obligated to do it. They're a fraternal organization. So
The oldest
doesn't
in the
mean
world,
that-
aren't they?
it probably,
I
it
think
doesn't
they
mean,
are.
it doesn't mean, and right now it's in the hands of the legislature. So who knows what'll happen.
My next question is how do we know? They're pretty secret. I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
But thank you. That's
Yeah.
helpful. I'll look at this. Quarterly and
And
the
there
tax
is, yeah, there
appeal
is some
cases.
interesting cases and some that have gone all the way to Supreme Court. I think one was because they really are looking, have they filed their A9? Have they filed their A12? Have they provided their financial documents? Has someone looked at the property recently? To make sure. Just, I think a lot of times these exemptions have been, oh, they're a church, they get it. Of course they get it. Well, I mean, as we've found out with some of them here, there's been churches that have closed. And if they're not in use and occupied for religious purposes, they do not qualify to continue to get a religious exemption. And so because they always did,
Oh.
you know, a lot of towns are just, oh, it's the church, of course. I don't go to church up there. I don't know if it was open, you know, so,
Yep.
you know, you're relying that some of that is being provided accurately, and that's not always the case. So there's been a couple like that, and there was a church here as well that did come off last year for that reason, because it is not in use and occupied for religious purposes. So we do look at those closely, and, you know, any information, and always take that in, and we are trying to keep up with it, but that is why it's being closely looked at, because it's like, oh, they filed their paperwork, they're exempt. Well, it's more than just filing that paperwork to make sure that they do. And it is a big responsibility because it takes it off the tax roll, and that means everyone else who pays taxes has to share that burden. So we want to make sure it's as fair and equitable as possible.
Thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Lauren.
Yeah,
Anybody else have any questions?
Joe's got to have a
Any
question.
questions?
Any? Right there.
The Tanger outlet,
Yes.
I saw some paperwork last week, $12 million. How did you valued it? I say you, but Avatar. I assume the DRA piled in on this too.
Nope.
No, you don't look at what she values things as? No?
It's up to the assessor to do the valuation.
Okay, then it's all on you. Uh,
Enjoy.
What caused a $12 million discrepancy in your evaluation and reality? Because that's $700,000 that we won't be collecting from Tanger Outlet this year.
Nothing to do with my valuation, but the ratio. So as I was saying, as the market has changed, residential properties, and particularly since we hit COVID, went like this. Commercial properties did not, and some did, but not all. And I was in, I don't remember how long ago, but Jeannie was still here. It was probably, no,
Or earlier than that.
yeah, it was last year at some point at the end of the year when we were going through this, to talk to you about this, but the ratio is that big issue. You know, right now we're at 56%. So when you're applying that to all properties, you take that assessment, you have to divide it by that ratio, and that's what the indicated market value is. Well, those assessments that took place from the last update in 19 for, say, Tanger Outlet, the market value today is probably pretty darn close to where it was 5 years ago. And a lot of that was during COVID. You know, they were closed for a period. They had a huge, there were many vacancies over there that we had never experienced at Tanger since I've been here. They'd always been 99.9% occupied. So they faced a lot of financial issues with that because of COVID. So it's taken them years now, the past few years, to kind of rebound. And they're still, the last time I was out there, they still weren't fully occupied. They're closer. But those type of properties, because of those issues with retail, particularly during COVID, they had to renegotiate contracts. They were giving concessions where for 20 years prior to that, that wasn't the case. So the value, we had it appraised. The value that Barry Cunningham, who appraised it, came in pretty close to the assessment. And then his subsequent year appraisal was higher than the assessment. The problem was you take that assessment and divide it by the ratio, and now, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but say a $40 million property, you divide by 56%, we're now saying it's worth $80 million, and it hasn't gone up that much.
Who comes up with the 56% number?
That is comparing the actual sales to the actual assessment. So and it's largely driven by residential properties because we don't have as many commercial sales. So when you look at that ratio, it's just looking at what's happened in the market since the last time we did it. And it's significant. Believe me, I did not want to walk into court because the value was great. We had a great appraisal. They actually conceded and agreed with our appraisal given, and they had an appraisal that was lower. So they agreed with that appraisal and that value. But you apply the ratio to it, which is the first thing they do at court. What's the ratio? And it wasn't as bad in 21. We were in the 70s, and then we went to the 60s, and it's progressively gotten worse. So you apply that ratio, and we haven't done anything. We started with the same value, but you apply that ratio, and now we're indicating that property's worth significantly more than it was. So we were looking at a losing battle if we had gone into court. Great value, but we're still going to lose based on that ratio. And yeah, it would have been about $750,000 in taxes. Had to abate it. I fought and kicked and screamed to make sure that we didn't have to do that because I think that would have bankrupted the town if we had to do that. So hence where we're at with that one.
How do we catch this in advance so that we don't end up over a barrel again?
I mean, the only thing you can do when that happens, if the I mean, no one could have predicted COVID and the craziness that has come out of it. But I think the only thing we could do is if we see that the residential market is going this, and it could be going the other way too. But if the two aren't going at that same rate, we could have brought commercial properties down. But that's a burden too. I just did it in Merrimack in 23 for the same reason. Values are still good, but that ratio is going to kill us. So we bring commercial property values down to where residential is, which we were at 60 something percent, 70%, something like that. So you bring that down, that shifts the burden. So that means the tax rate goes up and the residential property owners feel it when that happens because there is a shift.
Seems like we're over the barrel no matter what.
There's never an easy answer because I had that just last year, the same exact discussion in Merrimack about doing that. They're like, well, why don't we just bring the residential up? It doesn't matter. They're not on this going on the same trajectory. So we could bring residential to 100, but that still means then commercials coming to, they're not at the same level. They're not moving at the same path. It's nice when they are. It's just not happening in this market, that's for sure. It's largely controlled by the residential sales that have been going on. And some commercial properties, I had plenty of different groups of properties, different strata types that were selling at that same percentage increase as the residential. Definitely not the office market. Some of the retail, bigger retail was harder hit. So self-storage was doing great. So it just depends on what apartments were doing good, because they were trending similar with the residential increases because we have limited housing. So there's pockets of it, but there's no easy answer to it. But I do watch it. I do everything I can.
Maybe we better relook at this formula. The ratio isn't true. Because the ratio can't look at the variables of what's taking place. I mean, right now our residential property is askew. If it doesn't take that into consideration, then maybe it's not working correctly.
The ratio is only looking at actual properties that have sold and what the assessment is. That's it.
That's right. It doesn't take the variables into consideration.
No, it doesn't.
I mean,
if there were enough commercial sales,
but there aren't.
That's the problem.
Because the residential properties are being bought by a small segment of society who has more money to pay for these than they're worth.
Yep.
So there's something wrong and we're not fixing it. I mean, yes, the assessed values may increase for people and people's properties theoretically will become more valuable. But let's face it, our tax rate is not going to go down enough to offset that increase. So people will be paying more property taxes based on what we're all agreeing is an artificial increase in residential properties.
I don't know that it's an artificial increase.
Well, if somebody comes in and buys $100,000 home for $300,000,
If it's one property, I'd say it's an outlier.
but it's
If
not.
it's two
and it's-
properties, I say it's an outlier. But when everybody in town is doing it, that's the market. That's market value.
But it's a market created by a small segment of society who has more money to pay for it than the majority. I mean, that is the case.
If I paid $300,000 for my house and property, which is a damn fine price around here right now, that'd be one thing. And I would expect to pay property taxes on a $300,000 house and property because I just spent that money. All right. But there's a lot of people in this town that bought that $300,000 house for 62.5.
24, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
24,000, 50,000, yeah.
or they got it from their parents and they've had it forever and they didn't pay anything for it. They've got limited disposable income and their house that, I mean, that was originally worth 65 is now worth 300,000 and they're paying taxes on 300,000. They just don't have it.
That's market value, Joe. I know. I don't make it. As long as that's our system, is that we have to value property based on market value. And that's what the preponderance of the evidence is showing, is that's what people are buying property for. That's what we have to value it at.
That's not going to change. Not in Tilton or anywhere else.
New Hampshire in general really has been pretty insulated by, everything else going on. We've been pretty insulated and we've continued to rise. And this rise, I mean, we were going like this already. We hit COVID, then we went like this, and we're still kind of, I mean, and I go back, I mean, we've had a few dips in recessionary values. One, they don't drop the same as they've gone up, but look at history of the values. And they're never going back to 62,000.
Now, in our area, we've had quite a lot of interest in buying commercial properties. We've had a lot of developers have come in and want to do it. So are those values and assessments based on the whole state or specific areas, or, where certain properties or companies are saying, hey, that's an area we want to focus, we'll pay whatever we got to there. But the tax value in the whole state is lower, so we're going to make on taxes. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying here? So when we do our assessments and determine the price, is it assessed on the prices of property in our town or around the lake where property is more valuable, or is it just commercial property all over the state?
No. And I mean, but we're not going to have all of the data in Tilton, so there's certain things that we're going to look at. Somebody looking to buy, say, a self-storage facility, I might not have any local sales in Tilton, but I do have sales of self-storage facilities in similar locations. So yeah, we'd look at that type of information, and because we do assessing in, I don't know, 75-ish towns across state, we do have a lot of data. We do have our hands in a lot of towns. So we do have that information, but we're looking at the market in Tilton. This exit 20 location has always commanded, that stretch has always commanded a good price there. I just don't know that it's gone the same and it's going to be different. Strata groups are going to be different. we're not going to say commercial's going down or commercial's staying the same. That's a broad statement that I could never make, because there's classes of those properties within commercial that are going to go up similar to residential properties.
And
There are
that's
some that are going to stay
location-based
this.
too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's some that are going to stay the same. There's some that'll come down, just like the residential properties. There'll be groups of residential properties that are going to go up. There's going to be some that'll stay the same and some will come down. That just always happens. There's always that shift in the market as it's going through. But yeah, every one of them is going to be different. It's not going to be just across the board commercial is at this percent. It doesn't. Each class of property within that group will be looked at based on all of the information that we have. But yeah, we're looking at this location, and that location at exit 20 is different than, a commercial property sitting out in,
Like you
Windsor.
take Concord,
Yeah,
Concord has a lot of property, commercial property that's not going anywhere. But Tilton has commercial property that is going places. So our commercial property might be a little more valuable.
maybe, depending on the property. I can't just say globally that commercial property in town, because that's not what we're seeing. But there's definitely pockets of it. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the goal, is to get every single one of them in line.
Do we have this problem with any other businesses in town? But we're gonna have to lay out large amounts of money.
Don't have anything else pending, no?
We got the same problems all over, right, Lauren?
Do we have the same problems?
Not yet.
Well, yeah, just don't announce that. Yes, we don't have that problem. We don't need that problem. We're updating this year for bringing everything to market value. So the goal is we will not have those
Where the
problems.
assessment
Okay.
comes in.
Good enough.
All right.
When you revalue these properties for this year, what do you do with the properties that you haven't been inside for maybe 10, 15 years? What do you do about those?
We have to estimate to the best of our ability.
You don't make a concerted effort to say, please let me in?
Again, no, not at this point, no. Because we've gone out and we've done the cycled inspection process over the past 5 years. So I think we had opted in our contract to do 20% each year. The 20% that we should have done in 24, we did proactively in the fall of 23 so that we could focus on getting the update done for you for 24, but all property has been looked at. Every property has been visited in person, and then they've gotten that letter afterward to set up an appointment if they wanted to let us in. Yeah, so at this process for the update, we don't go out seeking to get into them again. We'll go out, measure and list all those sales, and we're going to try to get into all of those because that's what's applied to all of the non-sales as well. And then anybody during the process, if they call or come in and want to have their home inspected to make sure the data is accurate, we're going to go out and take care of it as well. But short of that, we're not going to go out again on those.
So people can call you and make those appointments?
Absolutely. Always, always. I'm here regularly and they can always do that. Yep. Anybody who wants to let me in, I want to come in. Never want to turn that away. So.
Okay. Any final questions for them, because we're going a little bit over our time for them? Oh, go ahead, Craig.
Just a reminder of 2019, the commercials in the same. Where if you look at across the board on most of commercial properties and the cards, almost every one of them was reduced in taxes, and the residents had to pay that difference. Sounds like we're going to get slammed again with the same. This isn't anything new. We went through it in 2019 and it was very painful for a lot of people.
And we have this conversation every time.
Thank you, Greg. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
DRA and to Lauren,
And
as
any
usual.
other questions, you can email me, call me.
I
track
have
me
one.
down, leave
How
me a
the
note.
twins?
The twins are doing good.
Good.
Little Adelaide was born at 2 pounds 5 ounces. She's up to 212. And Eleanor was 413 and she's up to 5 pounds now and she's getting discharged tomorrow.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
my poor son will be home with Eleanor and the 2 boys. And Alyssa is staying at the Ronald McDonald House while Adelaide stays in NICU.
In
So
the
she could be
NICU.
there every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jeffrey's got the 3 of them for a little bit. So
Well, we'll
Good
keep
luck
them in
to
our
him.
prayers.
thank you.
Yep.
We're just happy that she made a turnaround.
Yep.
It was a rough
Good.
few days there for Alyssa. So, and
That
thank
sounds
you all
good.
for thinking of them. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And any questions, track me down. You know where I am.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks.
we will.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Always.
Good to see you, Lauren.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you coming in. Yep. Paul, would you mind making?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to have a conversation with some of these people that live in this town. And my answer is gonna be,
We'll do our best.
sorry about your bad luck. Because in a nicer way than that, but
We'll get calls.
that's what they just told us.
So we'll put it out.
There's nothing we could do. It's the formula. We can't keep track of all the sales.
We can abate property taxes for good cushion,
Yeah,
just cushion.
Yeah,
Put it this way.
We're there.
Not
Actually,
zoom
one of
in,
they should be
and that's
proud that
good.
they did a good investment and it's going up. It's not
Okay, good.
his values of their homes are.
I'll take some.
Yeah, you know.
I need some.
I'll leave an extra one just in case, just in case.
These are my husband's
I
favorite.
turned down.
Are those I absolutely
know.
Buy them in all shapes.
And then I have to move.
Okay, folks. Fire alarm.
Yes, exactly.
All right, we're looking at the Tilton Island Bridge now.
Facebook.
Cookies?
You want one?
The cookie contest.
We have cookies and candies.
Supper,
Yeah.
sugar.
I know I have my protein bar for like you. Might need that.
You all have his email right at the beginning of your folder.
So I'm going to call this a new scope. Is this in addition to the February 14th at this price? Or is this completely separate?
It's the same thing. I just updated it, put it in your folder because I do need the board to make a decision whether we're going to go forward with TTG.
Well,
And
they've added. This is adding to the scope of this agreement. They weren't going to get all these prices for us before, were they?
no, we weren't going to, the price is in there now. That is correct, Catherine. They're not going to do that.
Does allow us to know the project cost
This-
reach.
This particular document, Catherine, was to help the board make a decision on how they wanted to move forward and what reports they wanted to get from TTG.
So they allow us to note that the project cost for each option developed would include. So they're adding that to this in
Yeah.
addition.
Yeah,
at this
that
same
is
price.
that is correct.
Okay,
that
that's
is-
what,
that
I'm
is
sorry,
correct.
I probably
That is
didn't
correct.
ask it right, but that's. what I
Which
was-
document are you looking at, Catherine?
The one that we,
The email.
this one that was dated from February 14th, the agreement, the scope with the price. And then the email lists, in addition, they would develop these costs.
Got it.
So it's adding to the scope without increasing the price. Right?
That is correct. Madam Chair, can I just add a couple of other points, please? So we really want to hear from the board what they want to do. Do they want to keep the bridge there and have a footpath bridge over to the island? Do we want the bridge removed and then just have a footbridge there that's 10 feet wide? There were some suggestions about cutting the bridge into two, putting it onto the island when the erosion situation has been sorted out, and also putting part of the bridge up at the mansion so that the residents of the town can see that. That's a school choice.
That does not have, the town does not have a say in if it get going to the mansion.
No.
It's a choice, but not necessarily a realistic one.
Correct, yeah.
So I think, to Catherine's point, if you can recommend some studies that the Turner Group want to do, then we can come back with a better number than the $118,000 that we had.
But I thought that's what they were recommending in this email. They've listed 5: removal and complete replacement of the bridge with new abutments. The old bridge would be scrapped. Removal and complete replacement of the bridge with new abutments. The old bridge or portion thereof would be preserved on the island. Blah, blah, blah. Provisions for a new bridge to the island. I mean, they even have, do they have the one about putting a bridge over the bridge?
I think that's number 5.
And the Imagineering part.
Oh, I don't know, but
That'll be
I
interesting.
mean,
for
they're
wheelchair
listing all
access.
of the
So
suggestions
when I
that they're
spoke,
gonna get costs to.
yeah, because I thought that the $118,000 was too expensive because we haven't got that much money now in the capital reserve fund to do any of those studies.
No, but we have permission to bond.
I like 3 or 4. Those two are,
But it says here, therefore, we believe that it would assist the Board of Selectmen to provide TTG with a contract to undertake exactly that task for them. In other words, look at these options, get the costs, present them to us. So my thought is, this would be really separate from this. And there should be a separate,
I'm trying to get it to supersede the first one the one in your left hand.
right, and I
That's what I'm
think
trying
I'm
to do.
agreeing with you. I don't want to pay,
No,
what, 118,000 to do this.
no, that is correct,
But
Catherine.
if we do this, it'll help us to figure out this.
That is correct.
Am I on the right track?
You're on the right track, yes.
Thank you.
Catherine, the way I took it was that we were going to look at numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, make a decision on that. If there's anything else for another decision on which way we would like them to look at, 5 would be turned into that other one. So, and that's where I had looked at it, and my preference would be the 3 and 4. And I thought the way it was explained to us last meeting, when we met with them, that decide what we want them to do. And here's some of the suggestions that we brought up at the last meeting.
Except if you look above, it says, we agree that the Board of Selectmen is still in an indecision mode, but our takeaway was that if they were provided with options and project costs, that would go a long way to assist their decision process. In other words,
Right.
they're willing to look into all of our ideas, give us the
Correct.
costs of each,
Right.
and then we'll go from there.
I agree.
So my
That's
main
not
question
my
is,
understanding. They want us to pick a direction for them to go.
that's not
They're
what it says.
That's kind of what it says.
Therefore, we believe that it would assist the Board of Selectmen to provide TG with the contract to undertake take exactly that task for them.
And said options.
With options, providing us with the costs for these options that we discussed.
Options to be examined may include, and
But not limited to.
Right.
I think
But my only problem is, what do they want us to pay them to get prices for these options? That's my big question.
When I know from the board what options you want me to go back to them with, that's when the prices for those studies will come forth.
Well, again, we're not going to agree because we all have, as it states here.
Well-
I mean, how many are we supposed to select, like 2 or 3 options? Or just one?
I mean,
there's
from
some consensus.
yeah, we have to have the majority of the boards make a
Alright,
decision.
That's not what I'm reading here.
That's what I read.
That's what I
They have
read.
to pick an option. They're not gonna, for 118,000, they're not gonna explore every option
Okay,
in the universe.
let's, for the sake of time, figure out where we're at. Does everybody agree with option number one? Where are we standing here with option number one? Removal and complete replacement of the bridge with new abutments. The old bridge would be scrapped.
I
No,
don't agree with any of the options till I know what they cost, because I'm for the cheapest option at this point.
We're gonna find out how much they cost as long as we include the options.
is that on off the table? Go see which options are on or off the table for us.
Right, we're determining which are on the table and off the table for them to look at.
So we can choose multiple options, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay,
All right. So are we in favor of option one?
yes.
Everybody? No. Scott, no.
No.
Joe,
I
no.
can go with number one.
Okay, you,
I'm at the point where I can go with number one.
all right. John,
No.
no.
I mean, we're only looking, I don't understand, we're looking for a price.
I'd like a price.
A price.
There you go.
Not, we're going to do this, a
So,
price.
all right, so number one is on the table. Removal and complete replacement of the bridge with new abutments. The old bridge, a portion of thereof, would be preserved on the island, sandblasted in place to remove lead paint and repainted.
No. I'm a no.
Anyone?
Well,
No.
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 All right, that's a no. 3, provisions for a new bridge to the island ideally immediately beside the existing, secure the existing bridge to be the best ability and remove the timber deck so as to further guard against unwarranted entrance.
I mean, yes. Possible.
Possible? Price? Possible?
impossible if we're just collecting prices at this point.
Price.
Yep.
We're
Price.
just getting prices, yes.
Okay, price. So 3 is an option, Paul.
Thank you.
Evaluation of the existing, 4, evaluation of the existing bridge for possible in-place remediation. Though we note that the Selectman Ruggles is it spot on that the bridge is wrought iron, which makes modifications, enhancement to the existing structure difficult due to the brittleness of the material. The evaluation would include costs for new abutment at the East Main Street US Route 3 end as a minimum. We would like a price on that.
Now, that's the original project, right?
Correct.
The
Well,
original
No, it's
project
not
was
removal.
No, this
removal,
is for
recasting, et cetera.
in-place remediation.
Oh, that's right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you.
So I think there's a lot more words to that. If we're looking at valuation of existing bridge for possible in-place remediation, that price, we can't automatically say that it needs to have new abutments. That would be determined. This is saying it would include. It has to be determined if it is necessary or if there's remediation other than replacing.
Right,
I thought your
So-
engineering report said that.
right. So,
They said a lot of things that,
all right, so 4, we're gonna keep 4 and get a
That's
price.
interesting.
And then 5, they're gonna come up with a solution to the whole project and
They're going to come up with their own idea?
they're gonna come up with their own idea into the batter and perhaps develop another option.
I think a rechargeable jetpack station so people can just fly over. Great. All right, I'm done now. I think five, like,
I
it's,
like my ferry idea.
yeah, five's they could come up with 65,000 options.
fill in this side of the
I'm
river.
leaning toward the ones we've already circled just to find out those 3 at this point in time. That's my opinion. 5, I don't.
Okay? Joe,
I'm
Catherine?
a solid number one at this point.
Okay.
I think that's the cheapest option.
I don't know
And
how
that's
much
the
I'm willing
quickest
to.
option.
We don't know it's gonna be the cheapest
Creativity's
option.
expensive.
Well,
Thank you. I was about to say that.
Correct.
I'm not sure I'm willing to pay for them to-
Creativity can get expensive.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
somebody
words
comes
right
up
out of
with
my mouth.
some epiphany, shout it out in the process of
I
this.
mean, the problem is if you look at the original engineering report and the recommendations, we don't have the total cost to do that.
So we would like 1, 3, and 4 then. Am I correct? Is
On
the
this
board?
list, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
so the board is settled, Paul, on 1, 3, and 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Wow, we got through that pretty. Okay,
It's not over yet.
what do you mean it's not over?
Done.
You think we just settled the whole bridge thing?
Let's
Yeah, we like that. Pat.
make sure
You
Greg,
are a
let's make sure
magician.
Greg articulates that. in the
should have
next
asked
Pulling
hour.
my sleeves up now. Page.
That was so
Thank you.
easy
I don't want to have to keep going over it on social
We should
media,
thought of that.
so I'm good.
2 years ago. Thanks, Pat.
Madam Chair, can I add one more thing for the board's
Sure.
benefit, please? So I met with Kate Saunders, who's the head of school that's departing, and also wrote to Derek Crine, who doesn't take over, I believe, until July 1st, as we want to set up another meeting like DOT and Eversource had with the school in 2022. And there was no follow-up to that particular meeting because the pole by the bridge and also where DOT are looking at a wall that's going into the river, they want to move those poles onto the other side of the road, which is owned by the Tilton School. And we were looking to do an easement. So that's still in the works.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we do the easement or
I would have to ask
Eversource?
permission from the school.
DOT would do the
Yeah,
easement.
DOT would do the easement, but we'd have to ask permission.
Coordinate
Why would we
it.
be asking permission? They're not our poles.
We're asking permission to move them onto Tilton School property.
We're asking Eversource to
Yes.
ask permission.
That's correct.
We want
That'd be
Eversource to
wonderful.
move their poles.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Apparently the state does. And okie dokie, why, I don't know why we're involved.
I
Right.
don't need, thank you. Neither do I. If we're talking about the poles
Because-
along the river.
Because we're the client for the particular area and the bridge. That's all connected from the 2020 study and the 2022 meeting
Right.
that wasn't followed up with the school.
But we only own the bridge. We don't own the retaining wall where those poles are, do we? What poles, where are these poles located?
Right
The
across,
river.
yeah, where the retaining wall is falling over
Right,
and going into the river.
but that's not our
And-
property, so why are we involved?
They're not our poles.
So
technically.
maybe I can explain what it is they have to have a certain amount of width between the road and the poles in the river, which comes out to be about 20 feet, which would fill in the river. So what we're trying to do is encourage Eversource and the school to get together to see if they can move the poles over to the other side so they don't have to fill in the river.
What's that got to do with the town?
Trying to encourage them to get together so we can fix our wall.
We're enhancing encouragement.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. Otherwise, they would say, oh no,
Made a suggestion.
we're, so
And
what the
has it
state
gone-
wants to do is build out 25 feet and lose 25 feet of the river. They don't need to if we don't have to
Depends
put a
how fast
pole
they go.
there.
Well,
We're encouraging the state to reach out.
We're trying to preserve the river,
We're being
the architectural
proactive.
part of it, and
Right.
the beauty of the whole river there and the flow of the river to protect our property. And nobody's moving forward and discussing it from what we know.
Right.
So that was the idea, to try and get the parties to move so we can,
I gotta tell you, as far as I'm concerned, it's none of our business.
and
Oh, it is when they take 25 feet of our river,
It
Not
is,
our
but
river,
it
it's
isn't.
their
Well-
river, it's a state river.
when it affects our island, it will be.
But they'd have to do something.
Mitigation.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's
but they-
where we'd step into it. But this is like, I'm sorry, I'm
Somebody- yeah.
screaming some kind of liability in my head because we have no ownership here whatsoever. None.
and
No.
we're not
It's one
telling
thing
them
for
they
us
have to.
suggest.
And I
We
think
can
that's the
just
idea, we want to
introduce
suggest.
people to each other.
May I add one more thing, Madam Chair, please? So John's absolutely right. And by the bridge itself, which is closed off now, the overhead wires, you can't do any construction work They can't get a crane anywhere there. That's why they wanted to move that as well. At the same time, doing both work orders.
So it benefits us.
Yes. Yes.
They're kind of a nuisance to us at this point, if you ask me.
Put them underground.
Oh, that would be great.
I would love that.
All the way down Main Street.
Okay, moving on. We have, on the bottom of
Solve
page
that.
1, we have, if requested, desired by the boss, provide an additional scope to allow us to act on the town's behalf for any and all of the following. 1, reach out to the appropriate New Hampshire DOT representatives to initiate a discussion as to East Main Street project status, obtain geotechnical information, and discuss aerial utility relocation status. That's 1. Do we all agree with that?
Yes, I do.
We at now, John?
It's on the same email, Joe, on the bottom. You said to me that there was more. I'm just looking at more. Men. I had to say it.
Oh, yes. The more that we bring that up, sort of like a squeaky wheel,
Mhm.
getting the grease. I'm a yes.
Okay,
We can-
there's 2 yeses. Catherine?
No, I'm not.
No.
I don't want to pay
Scott.
money to have somebody.
I have to abstain
Okay,
for reasons that should be fairly obvious.
okay, so I'm going to be a yes on that one. All right. 2, coordinate with New Hampshire DOT relative to the hydraulic proposals and potential impact to the island. None is the minimum sustainable in the town's interest, but mitigation is required for impacts.
I agree.
I hate to be a stickler. Did they mean hydrologic, not hydraulic?
I think they did.
That is correct.
Okay,
It's
okay.
Hydraulics.
Hydrologic, right?
Hydrological study,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, not hydraulic.
I read it right.
Hydraulic is oil and the
I know.
Pressure and
hydrologic. You read it correctly, but yeah, good point. Good catch.
Okay.
And
Hydrology
I agree with
of the
2.
river. So you agree with 2? Everybody agree with
yes,
2?
yes.
That's a yes, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. 3, coordinate with New Hampshire DOT as to their responsibility to stabilize and armor the island river embankments to guard against further deterioration and loss due to hydrology impacts.
Yes.
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 Yes. That's a yes.
Thank you.
That's yes for number 3.
Thank you.
Okay. 4, coordinate with Eagle Creek Renewable Energy to ascertain that the proposed New Hampshire DOT hydrology revisions do not compromise the operating curve for the Clement Dam, resulting in Eagle Creek / FERC demand requirements of the conditions to the island.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
There's bound to be some. kind
That's
of
a yes,
impact
Paul,
Thank
for
you.
everybody.
dam.
Yes. Thank
Look
you.
at,
Liquid,
Yeah.
regardless
There we
of whether
go.
it's
That's
water
perfect.
or
Thank you
oil.
very much.
done.
Yeah.
Another one. She's
It would be
on
correct.
target.
We're on the roll.
You're doing it.
Here we go. Okay. 5:45 and it's 6:10. We're going to do the stipend policy. And where shall we find that?
In Paul's
Right,
section.
right behind the, it should be behind the email you just looked at.
Boards and commissions?
Yes, that's the one that Catherine sent to the board.
That was a rough draft. That was something to be edited and added to and twisted around and eliminated and yada yada. It was not a finished document, if you will. It was a compilation of our stuff and other people's stuff. Maybe I didn't make that clear when I sent the email.
It was for consideration and looking at to start it going. That's all.
Yeah, this is just a draft to get us going and
You want to
I'm-
take this and take a look at it and
There were a couple things that I just wanted to comment about, to think about while we're drafting it. Well, one of them is down at the bottom under C, attend at least one meeting of the committee before being appointed. It would be nice to have somebody attend more than just one meeting
before they're appointed.
before they're appointed, to ask them to attend. But it could be, and here's the other part of this. So you have the budget committee that meets from, maybe they start meeting in August and solid through September, October, November, almost every single week. And then you have other committees that meet maybe 4 times a year. So it's really difficult. So if you say you have to meet 3 meetings, that would mean a 4 meeting a year committee, they'd have to wait 3/4 of a year.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think we need to kind of sort out. And the other thing is, number of missed meetings has the same formula issue that we have to deal with. That if you miss 3 budget meetings compared to if you missed, 3 meetings that meet quarterly, it's a difference. So maybe we should look at a percentage of that.
the one thing you have to remember is the budget committee is an elected committee
Hmm.
and they appoint their own.
Hmm.
When they're missing one.
Hmm.
They also generate their own stipends, don't they? No, we just give them whatever
We
we
give them a
get.
stipend. But, and I also think, I'd have to read 32 again, but I believe there's something in there that deals with missing meetings. And I thought there was some language in here that eliminated the budget committee from this, but maybe not yet.
Hmm.
But that is something we should keep in mind.
And the other thing is obviously we have difficulties getting people to serve on committees. And if we start rolling them out too easy, they might just say, don't want to get involved. But those are things to think of while we're
Those are things, very good things to think about.
Sounds good. So we
think
can
about more.
table this to a later time in the year that we can spend some more time on it.
So one of the things, did you get any feedback from, if I may ask, from any board members or any, because I think we need to hear from some of the, especially the long-term board members or chairmen that have been dealing and seeing the turnover and attendance issues.
I would
that we're dealing
probably get closer to a finished document before
Yeah.
we send it out for perusal from others. I mean, this is
Our
already,
opinions,
this
right?
is already February, so we're in the first quarter of the year.
Mm.
So we don't want to wait too long, but yeah.
Mm.
Good point.
There's usually a lull after town meeting and, before, there's usually a kind of a lull where we can go over
Like,
all,
Excellent.
yeah, knock on wood here. Yep, you're absolutely
yeah.
right. Let's not jinx it. And that we could deal with a lot of that and maybe catch up on the,
Where we're at.
yep. And updating our job descriptions too. Okay, so I'll make a motion, we table it to a later time.
Further discussion, yeah.
We don't need a motion, we'll just do it.
Just
Okay,
table it.
Consensus.
consensus, yeah. Okay, town administrator report.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. If the board would kindly look at my report, there are actually 5 action items. 2 came in late and didn't have a chance to put on there, and I'd like to take the minutia first. I'm glad that Chief Gilman is here. So I got a call from Maureen Campbell from the Veterans Home regarding the trick or treat, which is of course October 31st. And she wanted to know whether we are holding trick or treat on that particular night. because apparently it's also a Board of Selectmen's meeting. And I said usually the police chief would tell us what time of the day he's going to have the trick or treat for the children, and then I would talk to the board. So I said I would put this in front of the board tonight and ask when you are going to have trick or treat
So
for the town of Tilton.
The 31st is on a Thursday evening. And so we usually have the downtown trick or treat on a Saturday. So probably have the downtown trick or treat, what, on the 26th, Chief?
Downtown.
Or the one after.
26?
Always one before. This says it would be on the 32nd.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Friday this year,
Be creepy.
right? Before that, we did it on.
Well,
Saturday or
Friday, it doesn't matter. Friday or Saturday, it doesn't matter to me. Friday the 25th or the 26th, doesn't matter.
So
Because it's a Thursday, it's awkward.
typically, a lot of times we've held it on the Saturday because of parents getting home and getting kids ready to go out and setting it up and all that.
And shutting down Main Street on Friday
Night.
night seems more problematic probably than
That's right, we
Saturday.
didn't do it Friday, you're right, we did it Saturday, because I had drug it back the
Right.
last couple of years.
Right.
I think one year we did it Sunday. But that's, everybody's going back Monday, I think Saturday, the 26th would be for trunk or treat.
But then
But for trick or treat,
for trick or treat, right,
Thursday.
Thursday, even though we're, okay,
But I mean, it's Halloween. that
it's
night.
Halloween, doesn't matter if we're here.
It's up to you.
And technically, if we're on our first and third Thursday schedule, I know that becomes one of the funky ones during the year because we would be on the 3rd and the 17th. And then, I mean, I know it's a 3, 4, 5 Thursday month.
Mm.
That becomes the,
But what does it matter if we're having a meeting and they're out there
No,
trick or
It
treating?
doesn't matter.
They're not gonna toilet paper our cars and
So
soap
we'll
our
have it,
windows, right?
Probably participate in
I
it.
mean, I don't know.
it might egg them, but
Oh, X, I can deal with.
Saturday,
Mm.
Right.
as long as they're buffering you.
so the 26th will be the downtown trick or treat. And then the
They bounce off my
31st will be the Halloween for door to door.
And Chief Gilmore, what time would that be on the 31st?
5 to 8.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's quite some planning ahead. Is that subject to, it could be changed
If it snows.
tornado, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Tell Maureen we're laughing about that one.
Invasion.
Secondly, I'd like the board to accept 2 donations in the amount of $26. $10 for the senior, this is both for the senior center, $10 from the water park supply and $16 from William and Florence Dawson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, motion's been made and seconded to accept 2 donations for the senior center in the amount of $26. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Now, in your packet behind my report, the board had decided that we would look at 2 job descriptions per meeting. So I've included the administrative assistant and the land use technician. And behind that, you'll see I also need the board's approval to post the land use technician job description.
Okay.
I did send the job descriptions ahead of time, but I don't know whether the board has had a chance to look at them.
I did not.
Do you know if our land use coordinator has had an opportunity to look and see if there's anything that might
Actually,
be?
this came from her.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
she
she's,
was good enough to find the 2019,
Hmm.
and I just wanted to know whether you needed me to add anything. She said not really. It was
so she's
yeah,
yeah.
and I did pass the land use technician job description past Leanne. So
Yeah.
I think Amy did.
What are we going to look at first? The advertisement or the land use technician? What do you all have in front of you? Land use technician?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I have
All right, let's look at that.
And it's got the at the end, performs all related duties as required. So that kind of covers a lot.
So the first page assists the building inspector / code enforcement officer. It's not confusing when that's the code enforcement officer?
Well, he's the sorry, Madam Chair. He's the
This-
code enforcement officer for building, as opposed to code enforcement officer for zoning purposes.
This
So
is a Janus. Okay. I get it.
And if you look at the signature page, the only select board member that has never seen this, of course, is Selectman Ruggles.
I've seen it though.
Oh, you have, yeah, yeah.
So would it be assists the building inspector, code enforcement officer in what capacity? You know, does that mean they do building inspections and do that, or they
It tells
do
you
code
right at the next
enforcement?
sentence.
That's period.
Yeah, and then it says conducts an initial review for completeness
That's
of,
an additional thing. And then provide, so it should say clerically or
oh,
assists or something like that.
I see. I work. That is gone.
it's a
That's
brand
from
software.
before.
No, but we don't
We
use it
don't use
anymore.
iWorks
We got rid of it.
anymore. No, but it's
So
in
that-
here.
So that should be struck.
Right. We don't use the iWork software anymore.
All right.
Point of information. So when this job description was created, we did in fact have a building code inspector and combined zoning code inspector person. And I believe that's what this is referring to.
Oh.
This is referring to Al.
Thank you.
So,
So
yeah,
yeah,
we should take out, it should say building code inspector and take out code enforcement officer to make it more clear. Because that's what our person does now is building code inspections, and then the other does the zoning code inspections.
Which is Leanne herself.
That's right.
and yeah, that's a couple places in there too.
Now, land use technician
Mhm.
instead of land use coordinator. Those are the two jobs we have over here.
Yeah.
Coordinator and technician.
Right.
I guess we don't like the word secretary in this town.
Yeah, with the times. Oh,
I don't understand secretary duties. This is primarily executed by the land use coordinator. And the land use coordinator serves as a backup to the land use coordinator. Wouldn't that be land use technician? Because the land use technician updates the 9/11 system and land use website. Isn't that what she was doing over here? Okay, so she's a backup to the land use technician.
Well,
No.
she's,
No,
well, this is the
This is,
description for
this
the
is-
technician.
this is not the coordinator. This is the technician.
So we have a coordinator.
This is the assistant.
I get it. I misunderstood.
so I want to take back what I said. Instead of eliminating code enforcement officer, it should say and zoning code enforcement officer, and that we should say building code inspector. So it's differentiating those two different positions in this town.
To what capacity do they assist? With inspections?
Well,
And
so
with-
in the very,
and-
very first paragraph, performs responsible clerical technical duties in the land use office, assisting the land use coordinator, building code inspector, and zoning code enforcement officer. I think that's what it should say. And then on the bottom paragraph, the same thing, assist the building code inspector and zoning code enforcement officer. And then the last sentence.
So we would have to change the first paragraph to clarify that.
And then the, right,
And then do you even need it listed again down at the bottom?
right.
Just strike the whole assist building inspector code enforcement officer right out of there because it already states it, what they would be doing with it. And then just go right into just plain conducts initial review for completeness of building permit applications.
The only
Well,
thing in that
it's already up there.
The only thing in that bottom paragraph that isn't in the rest of this is conducts initial review for completeness of building permit applications.
Just put that right up at the top, that line, and eliminate that paragraph. Job.
Well, you could put it up there under prepares posts, notes, and prepares abutters notifications, then make another one that says provides clerical support to blah, blah, blah. You could put that right there. And then, like you said, eliminate the rest of the language in that bottom paragraph. Because it is repetitive, and we don't have I work.
And when it says possesses a high degree of proficiency in using a computer, you may want to get more into programs that would be required. Because, I mean, using a computer, what's a high degree of proficiency in using a computer where you want proficiency in maybe Excel or, a thing, the Google programs.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Efficient
And the
use of
programs
computer.
related to land use, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, whatever those are
exactly.
Yeah.
specifically.
Something like that. Should there be something on there for, no, I see it. I was thinking that, contact with the general public, and that's first paragraph. So if people come in, they would be interacting. And that's right there in the first paragraph.
Yeah.
So,
So we got it?
I think some
Got
of
all
those,
I have all the changes, Madam Chair, yeah.
You got them all, the changes?
Yes.
he's good.
All right,
I'll have next week I'll have a revised version for you.
okay. So
Thank you.
on to administrative assistant.
Do you want to do the land use, Madam Chair, sorry, do you want to do the land use technician job description while we're looking at the technician part? Which was behind that, it was in there, John.
The land use
Thought we just did the land use technician.
No, this
Oh.
is a job posting. You always like
job
to,
posting.
job
you always like
posting.
to, yes, you always like to approve the job postings.
I must have missed.
It should say building.
Yes.
The primary responsibilities will be to assist the land use coordinator and the building code inspector.
Well, you need all three. Zoning code.
Yep.
And building code.
Can you make it more general as just some codes, associated code enforcement or
I'd
something?
be specific because the person's gonna
101.
need to go, wonder what the zoning codes in Tilton are, and then hopefully look them up.
Yeah.
And then go, oh, building codes, am I familiar with those?
Sounds good.
I mean, if you want to be really specific, we'd put state building codes.
Well, you have here the education, responsible clerical or administrative experience, and yet over here it says 2 years of experience in a related field which demonstrates possession of the required knowledge. Responsible clerical or experience. Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
That's good. I'm good with that.
I'll just amend it where Catherine has spoken.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give me a second. So our land use coordinator reviewed it and thinks that's sufficient. Guessing the ad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shall pass it back through Leanne again now with this change.
It's
Yeah.
changed. Surprised it's only 5 pages. It's a big job. It really
Yeah, but
is.
each one of these little blips is a thing all by itself.
Yeah, it really is. It's and on page 4, right above, knowledge, skills, and abilities is really sums it all up.
Yeah. I don't know why they put sedentary. I have never seen anybody sit in one position in that office.
Oh,
They used to when it was minute transcribing day.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, she was on the phone with the IRS for 2 hours, so she didn't move once. She was on hold, so she was trying to multitask while waiting for a human to come on and talk to her. So
Fun.
I don't see anything I would change.
No.
no.
So, Madam Chair, I have an original here, but of course, it's all got signatures on the last page. If you were happy with this, I was hoping the board might sign it tonight.
I'm good.
I have a question. In
Go ahead.
2 areas in here, it talks about on the first page under supervision received, works under the general supervision of the town administrator and specific supervision of the finance director relative to blah, blah, blah. And then
And then it
on the
spells it
third
out.
page,
Yeah.
it goes assist finance director with, and it's more specific. It doesn't indicate in here how many hours per week or how much time that would be. And I'm wondering if we should be specific.
That would fluctuate.
Hmm.
Pardon?
That the time required would fluctuate from week to week.
I mean, unless you put typically
Right.
to give it an idea of what it might look, what typically it would look like. But I mean, we might have to keep changing that often.
Well, it's just that you have, so it lists, and there's another finance. I mean, 90% of the job description, the primary duties is, selectmen, town administrator stuff. And there's a lot of it. I'm just thinking if we specified, approximately
10 hours?
10 hours, 8 hours.
What does it take to do payroll?
Probably 3.5 hours, I believe, something like that. I'll have to check with Tim, but I think she's in the latter stages now of doing that herself. So I think another week of training and she'll be ready to do that on her own.
On her own?
Yeah, yeah.
Could you put occasional supervision of the finance director? That works under that, but occasionally supervised by the finance director. Because, to
But
put a specific number in is it's
Well,
going to
if
be
we said
fluid.
approximately, I'm just saying
Yeah.
because this might seem overwhelming to somebody who doesn't have really a clue, who's coming brand new to the job.
So,
I mean, hopefully we won't have to deal with that for a number of years since we just hired somebody, but I'm just saying.
so is this administrative assistant actually being supervised by the finance director, or are they just assisting?
I would say being supervised because there would be a specific way that payroll would be done.
It
And
has
accounts
that in here.
receivable would be specific. In other words,
That's stated
our
in there,
finance
right?
director has a
Yeah,
system
second.
set up and this person has to do it according to that system he has designed.
Right.
Madam Chair, can I give the board a couple of examples?
Mhm.
Tim, Amy and I are working as a team, and the Health Trust, IRS 1094s and 1095s come into play, and Tim has to help out with that from anything to do with the finance side. So we're working as a team on this SAM registration, which it allows Chief Gilman and others to get grants. That was an ongoing process, and Tim has helped there with Amy as well. So there are specific areas that Amy, Tim, and I will always work on. We are taking the town report off Tim's shoulders because I don't think that's a finance. It should be in the selectman's office. And so next year we'll be handling that. But whenever we're doing something, Amy and I are doing something that's got numbers and is financially orientated, then Tim has to come into play.
So I think when I read, I didn't really think about, it says specific. So that
There are
and that does
specific,
cover that. Yeah.
yeah.
Does
Okay.
specifically cover.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to weigh in? Should we put approximately or anything?
I
No?
don't think so. She works under the general supervision of the town administrator. And when she's doing financial stuff, she's under the
Specifically.
specific supervision of the finance director. How long does that take? It depends, week to week.
Okay. All right.
I don't think we need to put in approximate times because some weeks it'll be one thing and some weeks it'll be another.
I'd like to give the board just one more example. The reporting for the ARPA funds that you've been given involves Amy, Paul, and Tim. It's another specific nature of what we're doing. We have to report to the government.
I can't
So is
find
everybody okay with this as written or are you?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So-
do have one question. Under primary duties. At the end of that first bullet point, it says, "In complaints as necessary, inquiries and complaints." I would think that if the selectman office receives a complaint or an inquiry, that she would tell the town administrator, "You should know if there's a complaint."
Absolutely right,
Oh, yeah.
Joe.
As necessary. It's
well,
always necessary, isn't it?
we've now developed an updated complaint form because we've had a couple of residents who have made verbal telephone complaints and we need it in writing. And so she's very good about getting them in, do that, fill it out. Yes. I know what you mean. Yeah,
It says
it's
that
necessary. Yeah,
you're
yeah.
supposed to notify the town
At all
administrator.
times. Yeah,
And this
yeah,
says as necessary.
yeah.
I would think that every complaint we got, you should be informed of.
Is
Logged, yeah.
necessary. Yeah, it is necessary. And Amy would not let anything slip through the net. I can tell you that. So.
Okey dokey.
And the board can sign all those papers.
John.
You.
Okay. DPW truck laborer.
I'm sorry. You.
I don't have that one.
The ad.
We already.
I thought we did that.
We
received
did that
it.
last meeting,
That went
Madam
out
Chair.
last.
Yeah.
That was just left over in your.
That's gone on to the town website. That's gone on to NHMA, and we also put it on Indeed.
Even less time.
You are flying. And you could get Golden Star,
Hmm.
Gold Star.
10:30.
Would you like me to continue with my report? I began to work on a grant application under the Federal Highway Administration's Bridge Investment Program for the bridge replacement to access Tilton Island. I had some difficulty, so I called my contact at the DOT Bridge Planning Department to discover that what I wanted to achieve would not qualify. Tilton is contemplating a public footbridge, which is more suited to the DOT's 10-year plan, and was advised to reach out to LRPC. The grant in question is for large bridges carrying vehicular traffic. I recommend we wait until the board instructs HR Turner, which you've done tonight, which will include funding opportunities. So although I spent a little bit of time on it, it is not one that we could work on. Joint Loss Management Committee. We now have 5 members of the Safety Committee, namely Chuck Bodine from Building, Pete Fife, DPW, Chief Gilman from the PD, Sue McDonald, Secretarial, and Becky Albert, the Deputy Town Clerk Tax Collector. And we will be following the Primex guidelines and looking at 4 town facilities during the rest of this year. Caliph Hill Road project. Geotechnical borings along Caliph Hill Road will be carried out on March 11th and 12th. Chief Gilman has offered police detail for those days, and DPW Director Shane Dow will be on hand. I don't know whether they've contacted the police department yet. Probably a little early. Yeah. Health Trust 101. Excuse me. On February the 20th, Amy Desmonds and I had a virtual meeting with the folks at Health Trust and went over all the plans being offered to our employees. FEMA flood insurance rate maps. I met with Chuck and Kathy Mitchell and discussed the 2 letters received from FEMA, which were provided to the chair of the Board of Selectmen. Chuck provided me with the current map, which I gave to Leanne, who has been copied on all correspondence by FEMA, and she is participating in a virtual community coordination officers meeting scheduled for March the 5th. Recycling Center. The baler will be arriving early next month, and the highway crew are getting the recycling shed ready for recyclables. We need to purchase some lumber and a door from Lowe's, and I'm wondering if I need the board's approval to do this. Cy Lumber gave me a quote, which is very expensive, and Lowe's came in and said they would give us a discount if we opened up a Lowe's account with them. The cost for Lowe's was $14.89 and loose change. Cy Lumber was $22,239.
$2,239.
Yeah. $2,239. Yeah.
That's significant.
Yeah. So I being relatively new here, can I make an executive decision when these numbers are small and go ahead and purchase, or do I come before the board to get your approval?
I think we updated the rule of thumb, anything under 2,000, we needed three quotes. I think it's 2,000, or is it?
Under or over?
Over, I'm sorry, over.
So the lowest quote is lower than, so we
Right.
wouldn't need the 3.
Right.
And the question is, does he need board approval to spend the money? Is this money for this project in the budget?
I talked to Tim and it's in their budget, in the DPW budget.
A budget that's not been approved yet. So if it was
We need-
April and the budget was approved, I would say if it's in the budget, approved budget, the highway director could go purchase the wood, what he needs to finish that project.
But the baler's coming.
So under these circumstances, that constitute an emergency?
Safety
Well,
and protection of our property.
The residents of the town have asked for recycling, and I think a lot of people have either spoken to the board individually. Certainly, we've got phone calls, and Mr. Pat Clark's been in to see us a few times to say what's happening with the recycling centre. And I'm encouraging people to go down there because we've now opened it up, and you'll see the 3 areas where the recyclables are going to go and where the baler is going to go. What I need to do is just get a door. I'm having a pull down door to cover the baler, and I need the wood, obviously, for the VLC gates, but I need the wood to hold the side of the recyclables in place.
Who's doing the work?
The DPW.
It's
I would
something we
say
already
yes.
voted on
Yep.
and approved, that whole
I'm a yes.
building. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
So,
yep.
yeah, I mean, really, Public Works Director who's gonna,
Right.
Unless we
Money.
zero out their
Yeah.
budget 100%, there's going to be $1,400 in that budget.
Right.
No, and
Well,
it's,
That's a yes.
Thank you. Thank you, board, very much. Thank you. Can I take, what we do is, can I take? Sorry. Oh, thank you.
mhm.
That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I had one question regarding the FEMA thing. I guess there were some questions. Have they been communicated so that at the meeting they'll be
Yes,
asked?
Leanne already got hold of, I've forgotten the gentleman's last name. His first name's Scott, and she did make some calls to them. She had some questions.
I know when we looked at it with the, at the Conservation Commission meeting, there were questions because some things weren't really clearly
And I
located
did-
and outlined.
I think Mrs. Mitchell also made some calls.
Yeah.
Um,
That's all being,
yeah, I'm
Communicated.
sure ready for the meeting on the virtual meet. Yeah, on
Thanks.
March 5th. Yes.
Okay. That ends the town. You all set, Paul?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Selectmen's report. Joe, you're up.
None.
Thank you. Catherine?
I have a couple. So first one I have is really a housekeeping. Well, I think it's housekeeping. So I wrote my first, I'm gonna call it a dog excrement violation thing. And I discovered that our ordinance does not follow the state's. The state has it as a misdemeanor for the, no, violation for the first offense and a misdemeanor for the second. Ours has it as a straight violation. Chief, am I right? A misdemeanor is more,
They're both violations. What it is, the second one is, the first offense is 25 And the second offense is within a 12-month period is $100. Ours is 50. Fine is different. So the summons that we have
Oh, I didn't copy the penalty. I just copied the
under
thing.
46631, A, B, and C. Ours, the ordinance reads 25 and 50. The summons that we have, that actually Jesse, before he left, redid, it said second offense, which is what we use in a 12-month period, is $100.
Sorry, I don't have it. I forgot to copy the penalty portion. It's way beyond what I've got. We have it listed as a violation, correct?
That's correct.
And then a violation is up to $1,000, $1,200?
They give a fine on those violations, on those violations under 266,
Yes, but
46631.
a violation in the state law is up to $1,000, right? I'm fine?
Could be. Yep.
Could be. So we can make our penalty anything up to $1,000, regardless of the state. We can't make it less than the state. So if the state says, let's say the state says it's $50, we can't make it 40. We can't make it more lenient. But I thought their second offense for a violation of this was a misdemeanor.
No.
It's not?
No. I would say it depends on which one. There's a vicious dog. There's other tabs that are added onto that.
Okay.
What we're talking about is defecation.
Okay.
And with dogs, that's the one that we're going off. But for our RSA, all of them are violations.
Okay. And we have an older dog ordinance, if you will, that talks about dogs off a leash, blah, blah, blah. My suggestion is that we, using the states, that we create just one ordinance. Like I said, it's housekeeping. Also,
Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Everybody? Okay. Yes, Catherine, can you make sure that that gets done?
So we're going to go with the state's amounts too.
Yes.
well,
Because we can exceed it if we wanted
you
to.
can go up to, like I said, the $1,000, so we can, the fines, we can figure that out later. It's really combining the two and making it neater, I think. And I looked at other communities, that's basically what they've done, is used this. Also, can we ask our town administrator to look at our performance evaluation and give us a suggestion for something that's not quite so cumbersome?
We're already working on that, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
Thank you.
We've got three.
Informed and
We've got three. Amy's put three together that we want to share with the board.
That's awesome.
Great.
Um,
Simple is better.
I noticed in the it's in the, I think, credit card or whatever, payables. There's money going out to engineers used for like 3 different projects. And I guess I should have asked when Leanne is here. We're reimbursed for that, are we not?
Mhm.
Yes, for
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
yes.
Some things have changed since I was here last. I wanted to make sure that was still the same. And also, was Public Works able to come up with a temporary fence to secure that western end of the Civil War Park?
No, not yet. I'm working on that.
Well, I don't mean with superior fence with a
No,
permanent.
no,
I'm talking about a temporary.
they have not. No,
Because as the ground becomes softer,
Yeah.
the more worn
Yeah.
that's going to become.
they have not.
Okay,
Even-
thank you. And I'm good. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. John?
So one of the things I was going to bring up is the FEMA flood change. There has been changes to the flood map. So some people may want to take a look at that map. I believe there's one on the wall downstairs, like right by the elevator. No, but we should try and make that available,
Yeah,
the
I'll
changes.
check.
So,
I'm not.
because it could affect
Yeah.
people's insurance and
Right.
also a lot of things like that.
Right.
You're there were some changes, or if there are errors on it, we need to address that, and which we already discussed. So the Conservation Commission met 2 weeks ago on Monday and went over, made recommendations for the 549, what's the number?
549.
549 West Main Street, and submitted those. So that's in the other board. Let's see, I was on, so planning board reviewed 549. Unfortunately, their site plan was not completed. They're a little confused on how to do a site plan. And so they have got an extension till, I think it's the end of March, is April,
March 26th.
March 26th on that.
Because of the election, we couldn't have it till.
Okay. So we had issued a cease and desist if it was not completed by a certain time. We want to decide, are we going to extend that as a select board or what? So that's going to be something that we should do at this meeting to correspond with the extension that was given by the planning board. There was also something regarding the 11 Maple Court that was brought up. The person who we sent the thing came forth to the meeting and just wanted to make some statements, and they were referred to come back again with an application at the next planning board meeting to complete an application and do that. And there were some butters that asked that they be notified as well. And we want to make sure, well, I don't know if the Public Works Director or somebody wants to also represent the town on that for drainage issues. So that covers all that stuff. I think that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
All right. Scott?
I have nothing this evening.
Okay. That's me then. Okay. The executive committee met on Tuesday. We're going to have an up and coming fundraiser. We're going to sell lottery scratch tickets. I'm only going to sell 200 of them. 200 tickets to win $250 worth of tickets. That's coming soon to benefit the senior center. Our dishwasher was on the fritz. It wasn't heating, so the guy came up. It was 2 weeks over the warranty.
No.
Yeah.
It's about right.
Yep.
The timer.
Yeah, it was. So it
You're
was.
gonna replace the heating element or?
It was a probe. If that is that a heating element?
No, the
temperature
probe, it's the water temperature control.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. A probe.
Yeah.
So he
replaced that.
moved a couple around to get us by, and he ordered a new probe, and he's coming back to do that next week when it comes in. Probably a lot of money to do it, but
Shouldn't be that much.
about $150, $200 plus his travel time.
Yeah.
And then it comes to, we got an email. I've gotten a couple of emails asking if we can relook at the elderly exemption. And Leanne, who does the elderly exemptions, has gotten a few more. And we talked a little bit about it when Lauren was here. We have the situation where people are we haven't updated the elderly exemption almost 10 years. And Tim was going to look up the exact time frame, but it's been almost 10 years that we've done it. If you look at this paper, this is Belknap County. We're on the bottom of the page here. If you look at the income
Thank you.
that we require as opposed to the other towns, in the asset that we require.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So in Tilton, our elderly exemption for like 80 in 80 plus for a single income was 26,000. And others is anywhere from 25, 30, 35, 27. This is last year's. Okay. So what's happening is since the increase that we got with the Medicare, I'm sorry, Social Security that we got, people that have been getting them for the last 5 or 6 years, the elderly exemption, they're less than $100 away from getting it this year. That's what's happening. So if you look at if we raised it from 26 to 32 would be in that ratio, or if we didn't want to raise it anytime soon, would go to probably 35.
These are 23s, so people haven't adjusted theirs yet. Other towns,
Correct.
they may be doing the same.
Right. They're probably doing the same thing we are, looking at it.
Does
Like
the,
Lauren said, I wouldn't recommend doing the asset limit. Because if you do both of them, then we're going to be in trouble.
the asset limit, does that include the value of the home they live in?
No, it does not.
It does not. It would just include any extra property.
Correct.
But not,
Vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yep.
because I think regardless, unless you make a huge jump, it's not going to help some people.
So you don't think it will if we went to like 35?
What, for married?
35 is a huge jump.
35, I'm saying. So a single income limit, and then the married income, you'd probably go to, you have some here that are 40 and 45, 44 and 45, probably bring that to 45.
I think I'd be in favor of 29 and 37. Doesn't put us at the top, and it doesn't certainly put us at the bottom.
I think but Joe, you have to understand, you know, I'm okay with that, but you have to understand that these are last year's figures and other towns are going to raise theirs too this year because they're in the same boat we are right now.
Yeah, but we don't have those figures, and that's a maybe down the road or whatever. I'm proposing a $3,000 increase in both categories. Because I've never been tied into what the other guys do.
Well, and you have to look at the population of the other towns too. You know, to compare.
Look at the demographics here.
So we can do this at any time, right? Or does it have to be done before the deadline of the
Well, they're
application?
doing applications now. That's what
When's the
you're doing.
deadline for application?
Probably like April 15th. or
15th, I
April-
think it's April 15th now.
That's usually when
Right.
abatement, I think abatements are due by April 15th, aren't they?
And after they submit
Or
the
maybe it's April 1st, I don't know.
and after they submit the applications, how long do we have a time limit before we approve or deny?
Don't we have 30 days? I'm guessing.
And what I'm thinking is, to see what any other turns are in other towns and to take a look at, because I haven't really thought about this a lot, and I think we definitely need to adjust it.
I think we definitely need to adjust it. Why don't we ask Lauren for an opinion, because she didn't really give an opinion, and ask Tim his input.
Does this has to be by warrant article or is this something
No,
we can
this
do?
is the select board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So we'll put this on March 7th agenda. And we'll ask Lauren to get her input and opinion. Sound good?
Yep, I like
Yeah.
Lauren and Tim on it, in on it.
Yep.
Yes, please.
I'm going to save this.
Yep.
Home with me.
Okay, we've done the minutes. Is there anybody online that needs to ask the board a question or concern?
Or present.
Go ahead, Greg.
I think we did.
Do we have a DPW director that can be made public?
Yeah,
I thought we did.
we did that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a name, I was just wondering. If
Oh.
Oh, we appointed Shane Dow as the DPW director.
I have one thing I forgot. It was in the to be signed folder.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm holding in my hand is a disposition of abatement application. And these people asked for an abatement based on the fact that we had the incorrect information on the size of their lot.
Yes.
And the survey they provided was dated April 30th, 23. And of course, they assess what's there as of April 1st, 2023.
Right.
But so for me, it's a conflict because what was there is not what we had on the records, but that's how we assessed it. Are you following me? I mean, we had incorrect information, and this property is located on School Street. So it's not like it's a new property.
How did it get wrong?
I don't know. But it was denied. So that's concerning to me.
What does the deed say?
Well, that's what I don't know.
What's the amount of the abatement?
It doesn't say because it was denied, so it wasn't calculated.
So should
I
we
read that, but I didn't read it. I didn't go into the deed part of, the survey part of it where it said the April 30th part of it.
So we should be doing it on what is on the official registry of deeds amount and based it on that.
I don't know.
So we would have to get a copy of the registry of deeds.
But it just,
And if their survey is different than their deed, then they're going to have to go through that whole process to get their deed changed. So I think we need
well,
to
my
verify.
problem is
Right.
that I understand the need for the dates, April
You're right.
1st, blah, blah, blah. But if we have incorrect information,
It needs,
and I understand it's, going forward, we'll have the correct information. It bothers me that we're gonna still say, okay, sucks to be you. You
So more
didn't
reasons.
provide us with I don't know. It just bothers me, but I'll pass that
So we
down.
need
You
more-
guys, I'm not gonna sign it, but.
So we should get more information to see what the registry of deeds says, because that's the official of record of what their property is.
No, well, to a certain extent, it depends on what the survey says. Their survey that they had done shows it a certain size.
Hmm.
I guess my question is,
Does that match?
have we for all these decades had the wrong size? Or is this a newly formed lot? I don't know. I'm just guessing because it's on a street with,
We tax going to what the deed says in the deed, and that's what should be on the tax card. So we should review to make sure our,
deed isn't going to tell you how many acres. It's going to tell you the length of this line and the length of this line and where this line goes to the pine tree, to the rock, to the stone wall and the doghouse that used to be there.
Hmm.
You see what I mean? But it isn't going to say so many acres. That's what
compared
the
to
survey says.
and compare it to the survey and see if that's what they're saying. I mean,
I don't know.
a surveyor could make an error.
I agree with you though, Catherine,
I don't like the fact that we
are doing that.
are doing that we are telling somebody, okay, so what, we have incorrect information. We're going to tax you on it anyway.
Mm.
I don't know. That bothers me.
But we should verify is our information truly incorrect by what information we use.
Tells you there, read it.
I didn't never got it.
I know, I'm sorry. I took it out because I wanted to remember to mention it.
Are we incorrect or are they incorrect?
Our
They-
information was incorrect on the size of the lot. They had it surveyed to show that it was incorrect. And because of the timing of it, like 22 days, we're saying, oh, well, tough. We're still going to tax you on the incorrect information. And going forward, we'll tax you on the correct as long as they record it or something like that.
Tax them, verify it, and abate it.
It just
I
bothers
mean,
me.
is that the process? It gets
Yeah,
taxed
but
and
the
then
whole
abated?
thing is about, the whole thing in this is about the April 1st.
Yeah.
Deadline.
Bothers me.
Well,
But if
we
it was,
have an April 1st deadline.
but if it was incorrect before April 1st, it's still going to be incorrect after April 1st. So
Yeah, and the deadline is April 1st.
they should have brought it to our attention before April
Higher than
1st.
that, according to law,
Okay,
in my estimation.
all right. Okay. Hearing no new information coming
No.
forward.
No?
I agree with Catherine. Old.
I'm confused.
We can have her double check it.
I'm sure that'd be a
Yeah.
great thing.
Right.
But I'm looking at that as the April 1st part. She didn't dispute that the survey said that our records are incorrect, just that the date was April 1st.
Right. Okay, seeing none, the time being 7:18, I move to I make a motion to go into non-public per RSA 91A:3, 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee. B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. And C, matters which discussed in public would adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board.
Ruggles second.
Scott seconded. Roll call vote.
Dawson, yes?
Ruggles, yes.
Jessamine, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Constantino, yes. Good night, folks.
Thank you.
Wait, how did we catch up?
So,
7:15, 7:18. That was pretty good.
Right on the-
We caught right up.
Saw that.
Scott, can you
First County.
spare a minute?
Yeah,
I'm
first.
having a little trouble here.
Hey, John, what is the street address on that?
I sent you an
Oh, it
emo.
says number
Address
one.
Scott,
Jan
do I-
Malden.
It's a lead section,
111
right?
School
No.
Street.
No, it's not.
G,
It's not lead.
And you read that
G's
last
number one.
paragraph, right? And where it
She's only
says
gonna be
This conference will now be recorded.
And then that one, done.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of February 29th, non-public, because disclosure would adversely affect the reputation of a person other than a member of the board permanently.
Ruggles second.
No. Because there was some of the stuff in there that's to be announced. If we seal it permanently,
We're only disclosing what would adversely affect the reputation of a
okay,
person.
okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean the rest of it's public information?
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, correct,
Yeah.
correct, Joe. Did you
Correct.
second? Who's
Okay.
Scott? Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any
Selectman
other new business to come
Yeah,
before
yes.
us?
Before
Oh,
before
go
he
ahead.
says something, and I'm sorry, Joe.
Oh.
In my selectmen's notes, I forgot, there was one thing that I want to ask, but people can investigate it a little bit for next week. Sherwood Drive is not well lit, and there are lights on Sherwood Drive that I'm going to guess are town, but they weren't replaced with the LED.
And I brought that up
Yeah,
along with the one on the corner by Walmart, by the crosswalk where
Correct.
somebody got
Yep.
hit by a car.
Yeah.
That wasn't replaced in, it's out. I brought it up
Yeah.
a while ago. and
yeah,
it's-
okay, so, but
It's
just,
horrible.
yeah, I mean, going down that side of Sherwood Drive, because Walmart is not bound to light that half of the parking lot, which they don't anymore. There's a light that's completely out, but it's very dark, and the LEDs do not continue down into Sherwood Drive. There's no LEDs on Sherwood at all.
Sherwood is ours, right?
So
Yeah.
it is, and that's why I'm
Market
asking,
Street.
because it should have been evaluated, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. It should have been evaluated
thought
when
we were doing
did
the
that
whole town.
LED. Yeah, when we did that LED evaluation. So it's non-LED all the way down, and there's one that's out. I mean, it's
We did
really,
pay
really
for the
dark.
whole town.
Yeah, it's really, really dark. So that's it.
Uh,
People
just-
can drive down there and see it, and then we can have a
We can check
conversation.
that out,
Just-
Paul.
Just one thing.
Yeah,
So
we haven't adjourned yet. No.
No, just tonight when I was going through my binder and the way it was set up.
Yeah.
And with these there, I just wanted to mention to you that it was very organized and very easy to go through. And you were, Amy, and Amy,
Oh, yeah.
am I right? That everything was right?
She,
I've been purging as I go.
wants to ask you to get rid of some of your
I didn't mean to scare you.
Well, she can, the past thing, and I don't want to speak, but the past thing was that when a couple of our past admin assistants, they would put it in the front, basically as the reminder, like, get your stuff out of here. So
Right, they'd
they would
put it
just
over
they would
here.
just slide it right in the front.
Don't
So,
touch my stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I'll take it out when I want
A
it.
little
Me
note,
too.
a
Yeah.
sticky note to go there. Hey,
Okay, then.
Don't
Hey,
touch my
it's getting
stuff.
kind
yeah,
of.
One,
Any more
two,
new business to come before us? Joe,
Motion to adjourn.
second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Don't say anything yet. We've got some trouble.
I want results.
Wait a minute. We're
We're
not out yet. All right, here we go. It's still on. We're not going off now, though.